Does Denis Bouanga hate Marc Dos Santos? This week, Denis Bouanga took to social media to issue a public apology to the coach, staff, and team of LAFC. Here's what his tweet said. I think my words were probably misunderstood. I never meant to criticize the staff for the way the team plays. Full confidence in the group and the coach. It's simply different from what we did last year, and it naturally takes some time to adapt. We all stay united and focused. Huh. As someone who hasn't been paying attention to the team the last few days, that doesn't seem good at all. I've been banned from Twitter because it made me too upset. And so I didn't know that anything bad had happened. So I was sent this tweet and thought, wow, shit is really hitting the fan. I want to hear what Denny has to say. So let's have a listen to what Denny said that caused that apology.
And in terms of your partnership with Sonny, last year when he got there, it was such a great thing how it happened so quickly and you guys scored so many goals in a row. Has anything changed or what have you seen kind of this season that hasn't allowed him to get off the market?
Yes, because it's so difficult for Sonny, for me, because we play different this year. I play a little bit far than Sonny in the winger and Sonny play on the top, and it's difficult to do the same to last year. We adapt, but it's difficult, but we keep going for that. Every time I have the ball, I want to find Sonny. I want to find another player, but it's difficult. It's tough. I don't have the word for describe that.
Huh. Interesting. Doesn't seem all that bad to me. And also, I feel like I've heard that before. Oh, right. At almost the exact time Denny was speaking, you may have heard this on our post-game live stream.
The biggest one for me is the positioning. A lot of these games we've been saying, like, the players are just too spread out. There's not enough cohesiveness between them to even do little combinations and the little things that might make them more aesthetically pleasing and might also result in some more bigger chances. Those are things in which you train those. You work on those connections. They don't come overnight. Like, the team is playing in kind of their default mode, which is their game model, but the tactics, you might say. Those are the harder things to do when you can't be on the training ground, because how can you make any kind of changes? How can you make any kind of adjustments to the style when you can't even get out there? Like, you can tell the players, but then the second that ball gets kicked and you're 11v11, a lot of times players are just going to fall back on what they've been doing for so long. And that's what I'm seeing them fall back on, kind of where they were when they were doing well until the tide turned the other way. And so there needs to be an adjustment of some of those things. And for me, it starts with positioning. Get Son higher up the pitch, get guys closer to him, get into spaces that are more dangerous. If I see that and the result is bigger scoring chances and they continue to outshoot opponents, then I'll be happy-ish.
Well, Vince, do you have anything to say for yourself? Any public apologies you want to give to the club, team, and coach of LAFC?
I mean, yeah, I suppose if Denny hates Marc Dos Santos, then I, by transitive property, also hate Marc Dos Santos. Like, are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Because I think we literally said like the same things. What's interesting?
Does he hate Marc Dos Santos? What is the answer to the question? Do we think that he was being critical?
No, because I don't think that anyone that has been watching the games doesn't say the same things. Like, he's just factually pointing out.
Yeah, isn't he just like
plays different?
Like this is what's happening, and it's hard to like. It's not like subjective.
Yeah, forgive me for not being as online this weekend while my mother was in town. What were people latching on to about what he said that forced him to give a public apology? What were people reading?
I think they took what he said as him pointing out that as a duo, he and Sonny can't score the way that they were scoring at the end of last season because of the difference in play style and game plan. Vince, correct me if I'm wrong. And I think the implication that people took from it was, and that is bad. And it's bad that we're not playing in the same way.
It's bad that he can't score. It's not necessarily bad we're not playing in the same way.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not putting my own opinions on this yet. So I think what people took from it was like, oh, he's saying this is a big problem that we aren't playing the same way. I don't like the way that we're playing. This sucks. Get me the fuck out of here. I think people took it as like, oh, this is a prisoner crying for help.
And Vince, what did you take from it? And give us a rundown of what he said and just the firestorm around the coach at this moment, who I think genuinely has some real heat on him. I do think his position has some heat for the first time after this string of losses.
I think you're right. I mean, purely by the fact that this maybe is being blown a little bit out of proportion, you have to say that like people are talking about things that are, and they're making connections. Because to Darren's point, like you just kind of described what the way that the team plays. I mean, me being a tactics nerd, I'm like, yes, finally a player saying something interesting. And the other side of me, having been a former media member, I'm like, why is everyone blowing this up for the wrong reasons? Like, it's just him talking about the game, and like we can break that down, and that's interesting. Because if we want to really go back and think about LAFC and like just like go back to the beginning of the season as we're coming off of last season, and the biggest thing everyone said was, wow, Sonny and Bouanga, great. They need to be great again for LAFC. So that's something that obviously is a big talking point this season. But the other big talking point we had was, well, even if they play this great, if LAFC only has one way to win, which they showcased to end the season, and then had to switch in the middle of a game, they were down 2-0 to Vancouver into a different kind of style, into a more ball progressive style. And they managed to get back in the game, but not good enough, right? And so we all said, this LAFC team needs to have another way to play. And what Denny's just pointing out is that we already knew, like they have to play in possession. One of the key tenets of possession is when you have the ball, you want to spread the field. You want to create space for your playmakers. Like, I don't necessarily agree clearly, because I'm talking in that clip, I'm saying this is a problem. I'm not liking it. I want them to be closer together. I want them to be a little bit more relationist. I want them to be able to combine. Right now, spreading the field way of controlling the game is just not working, because our playmakers like Denny are not doing the things that you'd think they would do. Like, honestly, my thought is, yeah, Denny out wide and isolated, that's terrifying for defenders, right? What's happening with LAFC is a combination of Denny hasn't been beating his man as efficiently as he did in the past. Like, if there's any player that you wanted with the ball, 1v1, out in space, not having your teammates run other defenders into that space, it would be Denis Bouanga. But that only gets Bouanga going. So if he's not going, then how does Son relate to that? If he's not going, the plan is not going, right? So I'm not making excuses for this, but I'm being very understanding of, like, yeah, they've been asked to play different because they had to play different if they wanted to get to where they want to be. And it's not easy. Like, that's another tenet of this podcast that, like, I try to remind people all the time. I'm not excusing the team not being good, but I'm being understanding of the fact that you go from a pure transition team to try to be a possession team. I don't think it's going to be linear. I think it's going to be bumpy. I think it could be better, but I still think, regardless of what you think of the coach now, the team does need to add having the ball. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, let's just be transition monsters. Let's just do that. We don't need to do the other stuff. I just think that that's going to end like the same way that it ended last year. So whoever is coaching this team does need to find the way that they work with the ball and does need to find a thing that works. But I don't think Denny's criticizing this. He's just saying that's just the way it is. And I think ultimately, if you talked longer, he probably would have said, and we're not playing our best either. I don't think the players are totally absolved of this. So yeah, it's a problem.
I agree with everything you said. And I feel like you're always more eloquent about this stuff than I am. And you think about it much more cerebral. You're smarter, but I will. What I do want to say is, I do think there's something to be said of the fact that, like, yes, we are transitioning to a new style, and also we are living through Denis Bouanga prime and 3 years of Son, and we know how good they can be together. And we can't throw away a season of the two of them, right? It's the same reason we were saying, let's not sell Denis Bouanga at the start of the year. It's like, we caught lightning in a bottle. We can't throw it away. Mm-hmm. And if something isn't clicking, something needs to shift. And maybe it comes with more rest. Maybe it comes with more time on the pitch. All of those things are possible, but it is very apparent to everyone, even us, the most optimistic people on the planet, that, like, we just had our worst stretch of games since the Bob Bradley season, where we didn't make the playoffs, right? Like, this is a catastrophic string of games for LAFC, and something needs to shift.
I don't think we're even disagreeing. Like, I agree with that. I think top level, though, I think the one thing that, like, without adding a bunch of context is, like, do you believe that a team can win playing a purely transition style? No. Or would you like a team that can add a layer? And that can be regardless of who you think is coaching. So that feels like a little unfair.
I feel like you said, do you think a team can win in a purely transition style? And then you said, or do you think a team can add a layer? And I feel like did win in
needs to.
Okay, needs is different. Okay, yeah. So it was just softer on the second one. So I think, like, we did play a pretty transition heavy game the year we won the MLS Cup, right? But it like we played Dolo ball and it happened to really work for us, but we were much more one-dimensional last year, I think, than we were the year we won MLS Cup. But I think we're agreeing. We're just saying the same thing. And it's getting to the point now, I think, where we're getting like, it is time to hit the panic button a little bit. And so, Darren, if we lose against Seattle, and that'll be 5 straight losses, will be 2 wins in our last 12 across all competitions. Catastrophic, right? The worst stretch since the season we didn't make the playoffs. With the large summer break looming, do you think that's the right time to look for a new coach? We always say change mid-season is a difficult thing. We're about to have at least a month off. Doesn't it give us kind of an opportunity to say, let's press reset and try something new because we're about to throw the season away? What do you think?
If you're JT, I'm sure he's thinking about that. I think kind of like Vince, like what I'm much more interested in is like what the move is, like what the change actually is that's being made, not even in personnel, but like we're going to switch to this coach who is going to implement this change. Like that's what I want to hear about. It seems like I think the best way to sum up like what both of you guys were talking about is just like Denny is just pointing out the project that they're all partaking in. And the project, I think we all think, the 3 of us at least, is still worthwhile, but it's not successful and it needs to be successful. And something needs to change to make it successful rather than abandoning the project. So if Marc Dos Santos can implement change to make it successful, that's the race to me is like, can Marc Dos Santos implement the changes necessary to make this same project start working more quickly? Or do we have a way that JT can pinpoint that he can also find somebody to come in and be like, this is my pitch. This is how we make that same project successful. You need to make this change and this change and this change. They can come in, implement those changes. It just feels like this is involving too many variables that how could any fan, it's all unknowns for us on our side of things. Like, we don't know who they're talking about. We don't like, I think the most likely scenario is the same. We're talking about the same changes. It's just whether it's Marc Dos Santos doing it or some guy we don't even know.
Right. I mean,
Nancy ball.
So that's why it's more interesting to me to be like, what are the changes? Let's hope that happens.
I think making the actual decision, there are a lot of variables, but for like us on the outside, there really is only one. And it is interesting that people are making it a lot more. Like, it's John Thorrington. Do you believe that John Thorrington does things for the team and the decisions he makes is because with the information he has, he thinks he's doing what's best? Or do you think he does favors for his buddies? Because if you believe that John Thorrington does what's best for the team, then no matter what decision he makes during the break, which there are strong reasons to make decisions like the team is not performing well, the results, they haven't moved along as far as they have, and he goes out, then you can kind of go like, that made sense. That's why John did it. But if he doesn't do it, to Darren's point, he must know something. And I would say I would defer on the side of, I think John Thorrington knows something that he thinks is better for the team. Then he doesn't strike me as the type that would do it just because he wants to keep his buddy in place. That narrative, I don't think.
Can I introduce another possibility, which is that like, if you're just thinking about John Thorrington and him wanting to make sure it's known that he's putting his best foot forward, it's his responsibility to find this solution and to make sure that the people that are implementing the best solution are doing that. So I could see like if he decides like maybe that Marc Dos Santos is in a meeting with Thorrington right now being like, here's my plan and have I convinced you or not? We don't know that. But if he sticks with him, then it's definitely on JT if it doesn't pan out, right? Like he decided that the best way to make this project successful is to stick with Marc Dos Santos. So this was his chance to not do that. And he either entertained proposals from other people or different ways of making the project work from other people and declined, or didn't do the due diligence that was necessary to get those proposals and find a solution other than Marc Dos Santos in this scenario where Marc Dos Santos doesn't find it. So that's a tough situation for him. It seems like the option for him, he might just go with someone else just for the optics of it to be like, I did something. Then it's not entirely on him.
There certainly are people who work in sports that make decisions based on wanting to not look like, because he could get fired by the owners, right?
That doesn't take into account what if I think he's that type of guy. I don't think he's that type of guy.
I think
and of course I think he could just genuinely believe in Marc Dos Santos to do it.
I think the ownership has enough faith in JT that whatever he's proven his value to the owners at this point. I don't think he'd get fired based on this decision. There are people in his role around the league and in other leagues who definitely would make moves because they don't want the buck to stop with them, right? I don't think JT is that person. I think where my tune is changing is a couple of things here. One, it is one of the worst stretches the team has ever played. I haven't looked at it exactly. It's possible that it's the worst one. Like, we were in the Champions Cup and we kept doing just enough. So it hit a lot of that. And that's what we kept saying. We're like, if it goes wrong, we'll start to blow the whistle. And we have. The big thing that I think is different right now is this huge break we have affords time for something to change. Obviously, you can't do a full coach search right now, but you are given a little bit of space where if you want to hit, let's say we get fucking blown out by 3 goals against Seattle at home, and you want to say, okay, we got to hit a reset button because the vibes are so shitty. You have space to be like, this assistant coach, or well, let's throw a bunch of money at Wilfred Nancy and see what he can do right now. Like, there is space right now to figure that out. That I understand. Whereas, like, I'd rather that happen than be like, well, we're going to fire our coach and we have a new game on Wednesday, right? Or another game on Wednesday. Like, that feels safer and more JT to me. The other things I want to point out, and I think we're giving this too much time and we should move on. We got to get to Tom Steyer.
Yes.
Is the one that Bouanga expressed frustration, I actually don't think is the part of the story that's interesting. Of course he's going to express frustration. The fact that he apologized is the part of this story that is interesting, because we talked about it a little bit. I don't know necessarily that was his decision, right? I don't know how online Denis Bouanga is, where he's like, people are misinterpreting this and it's being taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think there's a world in which...
I think people are probably assuming it wasn't.
I think there's a world in which the heat is on the front office, or at least the PR team, and they're like, hey, Denny, it would help us all out a lot if you did this. I mean, I don't have any information that says that, but I feel like the fact that have we ever had a player issue an apology like that about something they said at a press conference?
Yeah, I mean, the way he did it was a way that, like, it totally could have been on his own volition. It could have. So I think it works for that reason. But yeah, I mean, I think conventional wisdom says that, like, anytime you see any player do that in any sport, it's like definitely a possibility that they were asked to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people online are coming from. It's like, it would be common for this to be an ask.
I think that just speaks to something that I think is interesting. That's all I'll say. Versus,
I think you're saying, like, if there's heat, people
if he just made the comment and we all freaked out on the internet, that's one thing. He made the comment, we freaked out on the internet, and then there was a response. That means the chatter has reached a level that they're hearing, right? And that's something that I think is worth thinking about. Whether or not, I'm just speaking in conspiracy theories. I don't fucking know anything. I'm just saying that does speak to something interesting to me that makes me think that maybe the heat is on more than we thought.
Okay. At least they're recognizing, even if it is just him, at least either it's him or other people involved are recognizing that, like, shit is that bad, that, like, it should be corrected.
And that this club and the fan base deserves a winning club.